Hello, everyone. My name is Soha Shazad, and I would like to welcome everyone for another exciting workshop here at Qureos. So, today's workshop is how to break into project management roles, and we have our mentor over here, Ankit. But before I go and introduce Ankit and sort of go on with the session, I would just like to take a minute of everyone's time and explain what we do at Curious. But before that, I would also like to welcome everyone who's joining us from Facebook, LinkedIn, Google Meet, wherever you're joining us from. A very, very warm welcome to all of you. We're super excited to have everyone on board today with us, and hopefully, this session is super insightful for you and super engaging as well. So yeah, let's move on to what we do at Curious, and then we'll move on with the session. So for the ones that are joining in for the first time, I'd like to share about Curious platform. So Curious is a platform where we are on a mission to transform 100 million careers by having apprentices get a bite-sized learning from experienced mentors, and then put together with projects where you can apply and learn concepts. We've got multiple cohorts and workshops available on the platform, and many new exciting learning streams coming up. So if you want to accelerate your learning journey and be part of Curious and also explore jobs and many other skills, go ahead and check out www.curious.com. You can also join our Slack tribe to interact with future market leaders and stellar mentors. It has a great community where all our apprentices and mentors come together and just engage and share ideas, opinions, and many other things. Join the Slack tribe and start interacting, start building the network, and also check out our website, as I mentioned. Uh, Today in this workshop, I'm really excited to have, and everyone at Curious is really excited to have Ankit. Ankit, thank you so much for joining us for this session and taking out the time. Before I hand over this session to you, I would just like to give a brief introduction about our mentor. So, Ankit is a computer science graduate from BITS Pilani Goa campus and an MBA from SP Jain. He currently works with Microsoft as a senior product manager. Before Microsoft, Ankit has worked with Facebook and YC startups like ClearTax. Ankit has worked in growth and product analytical roles. His key interest is using data to build and optimize business workflows. So Ankit, super excited to have you on board. You can take over the session. I'll start sharing your presentation as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Soha. That was a great intro, and I'm excited to talk to all of you and hoping to build something valuable and discuss something interesting in the next hour. So the topic for today, right, is many folks actually talk to me that hey, how do we move into PM roles? What are the expectations? And specifically, right, there's a lot of interest from folks who are not from an engineering or a tech background. So this presentation will sort of cover some of the key things, right? That hey, so we won't directly jump into the PM strategy and the persona. So we'll give a little bit of flavor into intro to product management, the skills which are needed to be a PM, and then we will delve much more deeper into the bullet number 3 and 4 on this slide. That how do we actually create your story? What does it really take to be a PM, and how you can prepare and position and pitch yourself to land into these roles. And I'm assuming, right, that if you are here, you already have an inclination towards these roles and you are exploring career options. So you might be looking to move into a product role, or you want to get into more senior product roles. So it's sort of a journey, right? So these are some of the key things which we'll be covering today, and let's just directly get into it because I want to have at least 15-20 minutes of Q&A. So we'll spend through some of the interesting stuff for 30 to 40 minutes, and then we'll get to the Q&A. So with that being said, let's get started. So see, I'll give you very quick intro, right? We have heard a lot what is product management or what do PMs do, right? So PMs are someone, right, who are sort of responsible to build a product. So you are responsible for delivering value. You are responsible to create the roadmap, the strategy, how exactly you want to shape up a product, how will you take it to market, how will you measure the success of a product, how will you ensure it is adding a lot of value, and all of this has to be done in a sustainable way, in something, in a way which you create a lot of intrinsic value, either and you align it with the business goals. Like it might be you want to grow users, you want to increase retention, you want to improve experience, you want to do monetization. So different products will have different sort of goals at different stage of time, but you really need to align with the business, with the org. And so its PM is basically that you are responsible for the future of the product, you are the product visionary, the advocate, you are the motivator, and you have to take all the important decisions to own the product and really ensure you are adding a lot of value in a sustainable way. So one of the definitions which I have coined on like this slide is a PM is someone who marries art and science to bring about real customer value. So if we can always hinge towards user value, right? For example, Sohova started the presentation by saying, right, that hey, we want to empower these 100 million folks, right, on this planet. So that is the user value. Now it will boil down to that: which are the users, what are their pain points, how do you deliver those values, how do you measure them, right, and continuously evolve, improve, iterate, and tread on that journey, right? So there will be a lot of PMing even in the journey which Soha is trying to take, right? So it's more of a mindset, and we'll now delve into some more specifics of what a PM does, and how do you inculcate skills needed to be a great product manager. So as I mentioned, right, the PM purpose is to create customer value and measurable business benefit. So another important thing, right, you have to do give a lot of customer value, right, but you have to make the business sustainable, like because you there's no free lunch, like there is no charity. So you need to make it sustainable so that you can actually run the business without say VC money, or without just in cashbacks or some other way. So it has to be a sustainable model. So that is very, very important. Now how do you do that, right? You do it by identifying the right customer problems. So whenever we go build a product, right, there are a lot of dimensions which we need to look at. We need to look at, hey, who are our users, what are their pain points, what are their personas, what are the competitive offerings, how is the future evolving in that space, or what is the company or the org trying to do, how does the feature or the product align with the company mission. So there are a lot of pivots basically we need to look at, both micro level as well as at a macro level, which will help us understand and prioritize that, hey, what is the product, and what really needs to be built in order to succeed. So this is a matrix which shows that the most important thing is the top right thing, which is the differentiator. Like if we can build something which has high customer value and which is unique, it is really something which can help you build an amazing product, and really like you can shine. Because if you have something which is a high customer value and not unique, this is just table stakes. Your other competition, other products will have it, and the low customer value ones are just really not worth it. So let me give you an example for this, right? In this world, right, there are say so many products, right? You go to any category, like in for ordering there is so many things, for grocery so many things. So if you're launching a new product, right, in a market, you don't think of table stakes. Table stakes is that, hey, good experience, a timely 30-minute delivery. You have to think of some differentiators. For example, if someone is doing grocery ordering, right, you come up with a differentiator that, hey, I will do it in 10 minutes, right? The world is doing it in 30. So you can't say that, hey, I'll do it in 30, I'll give you some extra 5% cashback or extra reward points or gamification. That's not gonna work. That is still table stakes. So every product, because today's world is so competitive, there are so many offerings, we have to think of differentiators. And when you have some differentiator, that will act as a hook, and then you keep working on the table stakes. So this concept of differentiator or the USP, which is the unique offering of your solution. So these two things are very, very important whenever we think of building a product. Yeah, and the next part is that sustainable period. Like you can't really like create a product where say I'm giving 40% discount, you latch on to users and there is no long term plan, right? Next year they will all leave. So we have to think of the long term. What is the user value, and how do you continuously bring that user value? How do you innovate continuously? How do you continuously mature your product? How do you keep building this in a sustainable way? Otherwise it's just not gonna fly. So now with all the things, right, the setting up the scope for basically the PMing. So what that does, what do actually PMs do to basically build the product? So we see our main thing, right, is very simple, right? We need very, very deep understanding of the user and the business. because that's where we'll understand that, hey, how is the industry evolving, what are the pain points, what is the competition offering. So we really need to be a champion for the user, and we really need to understand the industry well. So we that is where our most of the time is spent, and we really need to talk to all the peers, all the stakeholders, users, and a lot of different functions, because we need to talk to, say, marketing, we need to talk to sales, we need to talk to operations, and basically the entire spectrum, because the product cuts across all the functions. So we really need to champion the product, champion the user, understand the entire landscape, and cut across all the functions to have a very single coherent story that, hey, this is what we are gonna do, and this is the value which we are gonna provide, and this is how we are gonna measure it. So this single narrative is something which a PM actually does. So that is the most important thing in a single line for a PM. So once you think of the why part, right, that, hey, why do I need to do something, and what do I need to do, then you also focus on execution, because you also need to like do the product PRDs or the product specs, you have to do the UX mocking, you have to do the engineering roadmaps, you need to define the metrics, and then you actually need to execute the product. And it's again a journey, it's a beautiful journey, and there are a lot of learnings and stuff. But this is again one of the important things that a PM actually has to entail. And once you are able to like do execution, then you have to measure that, hey, what is the value you are creating. You have to be open to experimentation, you have to make data your friend, and you have to listen to a lot of feedback, so that you can continuously improve, iterate, and evolve your product. So that's sort of a cycle that what this PM does. And while doing all of this, it's our duty to ensure that we are doing justice to the business. Like, we can't really spend, say, 100 crores just to spend 1 crore in revenue. We need to be smart. We need to figure out a way that how do we bring in that thought leadership to sustainably grow the business. So that is also very important. So these are some of the pivots basically which a PM needs to take care of. And so among all of this, right, what is the hardest thing? So I think there are a few bullets added to this slide, but I'll tell you, right, compared to the strategy or execution part, the most important thing about the PM, right, is to really align everyone together. Because what happens is a PM at least works across 6 to 8 business functions, and all of them may have different priorities, different competing sort of asks. Their basically evaluation criteria might be different. So a PM, like, the strategy execution is important, but I think the most important part for a PM is to align everyone together, create a common narrative around the product, around the success of the product, and then ensure everyone is aligned and moving in the single direction. So this strategizing across functions and driving this stakeholder management towards a common goal, this I think is the hardest part about a PM. And second thing is, right, everyone will ask us for everything. So there are 100 requests which will come to you in a month, but you have to figure out that which are those 5 important things which you want to do for the next 6 months, which will make the product a success. And how do you say no to like tens of folks and convince everyone that, hey, this is the right thing to do. So there are a lot of like interesting things which we PMs get to do, and that is something which really makes our job very, very interesting. So with that being said, right, PMs, like, just to summarize this thing, we say a no to a lot of stuff, to a lot of things, and lot of requests, and lot of prioritization asks. But we really need to like stand for the product, stand for the customer, and then align everyone together and continuously move forward and deliver a lot of user value. So we are someone, right, who are lucky enough to drive the vision, strategy, design, and execution of a product. So the kind of value creation which PMs can do, that is really, really immense. And that was one of the reasons why I personally moved to PMing after doing a lot of consulting, operations, growths. So I've done like at least 4 or 5 roles for first 6 years in my career, and then last 6 years or so I am into product management. So with that being said, right, just a overlay of what does a PM do, and the skills which are needed for a PM, I want to delve into PM interview tips. Because assuming, right, a lot of you want to move into this line and now are in some or the other level of preparation. So let's go into this, right. So we'll break this into 3 pillars here, right. First will be like creating your own story, right, that, hey, why do you want to do PMing, right? So the thing which I tell folks, right, when they talk to me that, hey Ankit, how should I crack a PM role? I say first is like it should be clear to you. Like, why do you want to do it? Like 80% of the people want to do it because there is money in it. Like that is the like worst possible reason which is possible. And so you cannot even think, oh, I want to make money, I'll be a PM. Like it just won't work. Like you may be able to crack the interview, but you may not be able to build a great career out of it. You might do much better in consulting or operations or marketing, right? Because end of the day, career is a calling, right? It's an internal calling. Like you have to be good at whatever you do. You really have to enjoy it, and then like life will be good. Like you'll get everything whatever you need from a career. So first part is about the why. I'll delve deeper. Next is you have to be very very specific that, hey, which roles and companies I'm interested in, where can you bring a lot of value, where do you have connecting dots, where can you build a connecting story. So that is very important. Like if you are have interest in marketing and you're going in a fintech product which is like pure B2B, or like there's no correlation between your skill set and the target role, right? So that's not gonna fly. So it is very very important to have that crisp understanding of the target role and the company. And so the thing which I say, right, don't apply for 100 companies and hope you get 5 shortlists and one offer. Target 10 companies, get 5 interview roles and 3 offers, and then you negotiate and choose one. So that should be a strategy: 10, 5, 3, not 100, 10, 1. So that is very very important. And third pillar which we'll look into is the PM interview process. So I want to like break the interview process, which typically it might vary geography or size of the company, but typically what are the structures which you can then like prepare on your own. So I'll try to cover them. So now I wanted to click little bit, right? Because this is the most asked question. So I thought it'll be good to cover this. Is that many people are not from a tech background, right? They have not done coding, or they have been into marketing ops, right? How do you create your story to move into PM roles? So if you see this slide, right, these boxes are some of the skills which are needed for a PM role. And the beauty is that due to the huge surge in PM roles, there are like tech PM roles and there are non-tech PM roles as well. So only these two red boxes, right, that your like product specking or the product definition and the system design, these are the only two elements which are there for tech product roles. But if you can champion for the user, if you have prioritization skills, if you can think in terms of metrics, you can do stakeholder management, you can do GTM planning, you can look at like iterative ways to make improvements. So you can create a very very good resume and move into non-tech product roles as well. So but there are ways even to crack into tech PM roles, but a lot of like 80% of the skill set is common. Just there are a couple of buckets which I have listed here, and the next slides I'll go in even deeper into some of these. But that's a high level framing which helps us understand the overlap and similarities between a tech and a non-tech PM role. So I think that question, right, do I need to be from a tech background? The answer is no. Like that's the good news. Now what is important, right, is you really need to understand, right, that hey, what is your strength, right, and what are the skills which you have. So these are some of the skills, right, which are needed. That you need to have passion for technology, passion to build great experiences, customer empathy, great attitude, great communication skills. How do you like talk to people? Are you able to ask the right set of questions? And can you tell stories? And the other things are something, right, which you will pick up on the job. So it's really important that if you have these skills, then definitely like you can move to a either a tech or a non-tech PM role. And I'll substantiate a little bit also. So if you see, right, then what I have done in the next two slides, right, is try to break, right? These are the common personas. There are devs who are trying to move to product roles, or the second persona is say working in a services company, but IT services company, no product experience. So you want to move to a product role, or there's a fresher with no experience, or there are folks with marketing, finance, operations, sales, and they want to get into product roles. So now next slide, right, we'll discuss that how can each of these can actually move into product. So I think the some of the animations are not working, so let's just look only the leftmost column. There are three columns, so I look at column one. So if you're a dev, right, who is trying to break into PM role, so you already are from a tech background, which gives you a heads up. But the thing is, right, you need to develop product thinking, that hey, how do you build products, how do you like think of MVPs, how do you break users into different personas, how do you think of pain points. So it's very important to start learning about a lot of these case studies, looking at any new app launches. For example, say if in India there's a Zepto, it's an app with just 10-minute delivery, or Zomato is trying to do 10-minute delivery. Go very very deeper into everything. For example, in India, there's an app which is Zomato for food ordering. They launched a like full refund if the order does not reach in committed time. So understand each feature very very crisply, that hey, what is the value for user, how they might be doing it, what is the benefit to the user, what is the value add, in how many cases it will succeed. So you have to start appreciating products, you have to start appreciating things around you, right? It will give you product sense. Then when in your job, join the engineering manager, join the product person, talk to customers that hey, I am building this feature, right, as a dev, but why I'm building this, not this? What is the value? How do I surface out this feature to the user? What is the success criteria for my feature? Start asking the right questions. Get involved in the product planning, in the product thinking. So slowly, right, you will start appreciating that why are you coding something, why are you building something. So that beauty, once you start realizing, then automatically you will start developing the product thinking, product skills. And then you can either inside your company you can move to like tech PM roles like in AWS, Power BI, Azure. Or if you want to move to another company, you might have to create a blog to showcase your PM thinking on different problems, different ideas, how will you solve for something, right? And then you can even target to move outside. So that's a, strategy for a dev trying to break into PM roles. Similarly, if there is a fresher with no experience, right, then again the initial PM thinking learning, right, that the beauty of appreciating things, criticizing things, going deeper into things, looking at different ideas, exploring, loving different products. And then because you need to like create a foot in the door, you don't have credibility yet, so you need to either find some PM internships, you create your own website or create a small product or some prototypes. So people will expect, because you don't have a experience right now, you need to create a great portfolio. And I have seen people like amazing folks who are freshers, and they get into like such amazing jobs, they do so much of amazing work, it's so beautiful to learn from them. So, and then you can target analyst and APM roles in any of the big tech or FANGs or Microsofts or Googles or Facebooks of the world. So it is all doable. It's all up to you. And I say, right, getting a product role in FANG is 100th or like much easier than like running a successful business or doing your own startup. So it's really a mindset and preparation, and the right preparation which can really land anyone a product role in any company in the world. Like that's the statement which I make, and I actually mean it when I say it. And similarly, right, if you are in the third bucket, right, where you are in marketing or customer operations or sales, so you already have some industry knowledge, you have a function knowledge. Now what you need to do, you need to start appreciating technology, like hey, how is automation working? If I'm in sales, how is my CRM working, how is automation happening, how is the CRM working, how is lead scoring happening, how is the domain reputation happening, how are they sending automated emails, what is the SMS gateway. You start learning about technology, about processes, appreciate everything. And then slowly you will get that knack that hey, what is the right way to do this, how you can make it more smart, how you can productize this. So for you, beauty would be to elevate your thinking to technology, product thinking, how you can do things better. And because you already have that industry or domain expertise, it will help you navigate to a product role within that function, within that domain. And then accordingly you can like create your product portfolio or tailor your resume and move into strategy and business PM roles. So this is just a flow chart, but the idea is that anyone in any stage of their career or profession, if you want, you can move to a PM role. So that was the bottom line on this slide. So now what we are gonna do, so this is the last leg of this session. I'll spend like a few minutes on this. what does a PM process sort of entail, right? So high level, right, there are three key pillars to a PM process. So one is basically about the company and the role, what value you will bring in, right? So you really need to learn, understand, explore, see what are the gaps, their challenges, their competition, their industry, the evolution. So everything, you should be an expert with that company, right? So that you can talk to anyone and bring in a lot of value and ideas. Second thing is about you, like what do you bring to the table, what kind of projects you have done, you experience, you have your learnings, your failures, your challenges. So your personal story, right, and interesting anecdotes and learnings from your background, your profile, your experience. That is the second leg. And third leg is the generic PM interview process. Now any company in the world, it's a combination of these three. Some companies are more focused on the generic one. So it depends on the company and the geography and the stage and everything. This generic PM, now I'll delve into the generic PM, which is the third pillar for the interview process. So here, the first thing is strategy. So strategy is all about, as Soha mentioned, right? Say Curious right now might be serving 10,000 students. How do they get to 1 million in 3 years? That's a strategy question. How do YouTube compete with Instagram Reels? So, or like something or the other. Like how does Facebook increase its DAO? So these are strategy questions. So it's very important that how can you think big? How can you think innovative? How can you think out of the box? So there's a lot of material on this, but you really need to strategize, right? Because that's very important part of PMA. Second is product design. This is again very very important. Like how will you create a new app for a scenario? Like if you want to design a fridge for the future, or you want to design an app for an amusement park, right? Or you want to redesign the movie booking experience altogether. Or say if you go to airport, right, and you want to improve an airport, like, and it's very beautiful, right? It helps you think out of the box, but you have to think in a structured way. You have to come up with an approach. So and you have to design an MVP. You have to call out the risks, trade-offs, and if you propose something, how will you measure the success of the proposal? So this is all about the product design. So this is a very important component of the generic PM interview process. Third thing is estimation. Estimation is again very important because as PMs, right, we love to play with data, and we may not have data for everything, or we might be doing opportunity analysis or scoping of a problem. So we need to do a lot of estimation. For example, if say like today I got a news that Tata new opened a new super app in India. So how many servers do I need, right, to ramp up? How much capacity I'm expecting? So you really need to be good with numbers and estimation in lot of your PM sort of journey. So we also try to analyze and like basically assess folks on estimation. So this is something which is important. Like one example can be how many cigarettes are smoked daily in the world, right? So we'll see how you are thinking through and coming to an answer. Fourth is root cause analysis. Say suddenly my traffic on my FB daily app is breaking, or my new signups rate has gone down, or people who are liking posts on Facebook is going down, or LinkedIn posts are going down. So we need to understand, can you think in all the dimensions, in perspectives on how to do root cause analysis. So that is also important because many times, right, we have to do analysis, things are breaking, things are going south. So we need to be figure out that, hey, how should we address this? And fifth is the leadership and stakeholder management, that how do you align folks, how do you resolve conflicts, how good are you with stakeholder management, your communication skills, can you take feedback in the right way, and do you have a growth mindset? So there are uh, this is more covered at senior levels, but this is again a very important pivot or a pillar for PM interview process. So these are the five legs. So each leg prepare for 2 weeks, 10 weeks is all it takes to really crack this part of the PM interview process. So yeah, so this, I'm not gonna give this slide, but what I wanted to tell you guys, right, is that if you wanna develop a PM sort of a mindset, right, or how do you build that PM thinking process, right, is that you need to evaluate things very very deeply. Like understand, for example, in India these are two highly competitive apps, or in US you can pick say Lyft and maybe an Uber, right? think of ways that, hey, how are they doing good, which are the target users, which personas they are serving, how can one be the best basically cab company or like whatever, right, the transport provider in the next 5 years. How can one truly outclass the other? What innovative features are there? Why do you like one, why don't you like the other? So every product, every feature, whatever you use, right, so have that critique and appreciate the beauty, right? So these two words, like appreciate as well as critique everything whatever you do, and then slowly that mindset will start evolving, and you will start realizing that, hey, how can you improve this, how can you fix this, right? So always that inquiry should come to your head that, hey, can you do this better, how can you do this better, oh, they are doing this feature, this is so beautiful. So always this compare, contrast, and have this constant urge of improving everything on this planet. That I think is the single biggest kick to develop a PM thinking. And so yeah, this was just a case which I shared with some of my folks, that how, why do you like one and not the other? And this actually is a 2 hour discussion. It's not like a 5 minute or a 10 minute thing. So we really need to like think of all the personas, their pain, value, and how can we really evolve and make one into a really loved user product. So yeah, just an example on how we can think on these lines and really build some great PM thinking. Yeah, over to you, Soa. So I kept it short so that we have more time for Q&A.
I mean, we have a lot of questions, but before we move on to that, I would just like to say that this session was super nice. I can see you're super passionate about product management. So, it shows, and all the information you've given. I hope it's really useful for all the apprentices that has joined us for today. So yeah, let's move on to the questions. We have one question from Hadia. She's asking, so what mindset qualities does one need to be a product manager?
Got it. So see, one second. I'll also go to that slide, right, where I had called out some of these, but I'll summarize for you as well. So see, it's a combination of a bunch of skills, right? It's basically, you start with your core skills, right, where uh, you need to have passion for technology, right, and you need to have passion to build great experiences. And then there are like, that is the basic premise, right, that things should excite you. You should feel wow, that I can actually build this product which can bring about a lot of user value and create so much of this impact. So that is all around the mindset, right, the scoping, that, hey, you want to do something which will actually go and create an impact on this world. And then you come up with other things which are like softer skills, like how do you build product, how do you write PRDs, how do you create some mocks, basically, which can be high fidelity, low fidelity, which is like the UX mocks. Do you know about little bit of product design, system design? So these are, can you define success metrics? So these are some of the hard skills or skills which can be learned. So there is no, like, you don't need to know coding, right? So these are still, I call them softer skills. Like you can learn mocking, like the UX design, or the how do you create mocks. You can learn how to define metrics. You can learn how to write a good PRD. So these are some tangible skills which you can learn. But the most important thing is having that product mindset, product thinking, how you can improve any given product in the world. How do you have deep sense of thinking in terms of building something, and specifically things which can scale, and which basically can create a lot of value in this world. So I think it's just that product thinking and mindset, and others are relatively smaller things which are tangibles, which can be learned over a due course of time.
I mean, yeah, it makes perfect sense. And so we have another question which is sort of related to the the soft skills that you're talking about. So it's coming from LinkedIn. So the question is, if I want to switch careers to project management, what would be a great place to start, and what are your tips?
So they want to move to product management, right? Not project,
Yeah,
or
product
okay,
management. Yes.
right. So little bit of like background will also help. But as I mentioned, like this slide has the three pillars. So
Yeah.
depending upon in which of these personas you fall, so you'll have to start building your portfolio, start building your profile, so that you can actually target some of the companies and roles, companies at least, because you know you want to get into PMing. which you are interested in, and then you tailor your resume accordingly. And then it's all about preparation and going and cracking that interview. But you really need to like bring something to the table, right? For example, if you are going to a say an operations or a supply chain company as a product manager, so you really need to understand that, hey, how can technology help those people? What are the some of the pain points which they are facing? Like either their users are not happy, their dispatch times are too high, there are a lot of for example, right, lot of pilferage happening, broken units, very high, low nps or csat, and how you can create some interesting products to tackle some of these problems. So it really boils down to how you can think of technology and products to help that particular company or business. That's how you create a pitch, and you go and you pitch in, and you can actually crack that interview and get that PM role.
Pretty interesting. But so along with that, what do you suggest? Like for example, if someone's like trying to get into initially and they don't know anything about it, what's the first initial level skills do you think someone should learn to get into a product management role?
Got it. That's a good point. So what they should do, right? At least start with basic wireframing. Like you should learn some balsamic or some marvel or some basic ux skills. Second thing will be understand little bit around data analysis, how to create some metrics, do little sql, excel. So learn these two tangibles, and then start doing a bunch of pm case studies or pm exercises, that if you were to launch a new app, how will you do it, or how will you improve say linkedin experience, how will you improve youtube, or how will you define the success metrics for instagram. So these three things you can pick up: the ux design, metrics and data analysis, and third is a little bit of thinking in terms of real life product design skills. uh, these three things will really help you move to a pm internship or a apm or analyst roles, and that will help you kickstart your career. So these three things I'll suggest.
All right. Okay. So the next question is more so to do with after you are a product manager. So what are your tips to being a successful product manager? That's the question basically.
That's a good question. That's a very good question. So see, as a PM, right, how can you be successful? See, success is all related to impact. If you are able to create more impact, you will succeed. Now, impact is all about that how good features you are able to shape, how much user value they are able to create, and it can be like either you want to grow users, grow revenue, grow business, right? Whatever it can be. So it's not really a single line that how you can really succeed. But if I were to give a few tips, right, it will be like dream big, right? You have to think of 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, because most of the pms are busy in executing. Like 80% of the time goes in executing. Oh, this feature, that feature, I'm lagging behind, I have to look at this metric, follow up that person, chase that person. So if you can dream of the future, dream big, you will be ahead in the curve. Second thing is think out of the box and try to be innovative, because see, creativity and innovation is the biggest blessing which humans can drive on this planet, right? Like the nature is beautiful, but uh, innovation and creativity is something, right? Like thinking out of
Yeah.
the box, how can I do something different, something innovative? That is second. And third thing is more related to execution, but having good common narratives, like having very clear whys, why I'm going to do something, what is the user value, and how do I measure this. And then you have to socialize this across your functions, your org chain, everyone, so that people know that, hey, these are the four big bets, this is the value it will create. And then continuously you are telling everyone that, hey, so you have to be a marketer, you have to socialize that message, and then you need to measure it, see the progress, and then that also you have to tell to all the stakeholders. So but that still falls into execution, but that is very important, because most of the pms fall into this quantity. I've done 20 things, but are they the right set of things? Like, can I do four things which create the most value? And everyone should know, because many times partner team will say, hey, oh, you are doing this, I don't have resources, I can't commit. Or people should know that, hey, this person is driving these three things, this is the value it is creating. So you have to really like carry a bandwagon for whatever you want to do as well. So I think dream big, be creative, think out of the box, and build that common narrative which can be marketed and socialized across the chain, and which is measurable and it is communicated at different stages. I think these will be my few tips.
All right. Pretty interesting and pretty insightful. Obviously, creating an impact is super important, and that I think that's what a product manager role is. So we have another question from Anam. She asked it on LinkedIn. So she's asking how important is developing your product roadmap to the success of your business or company.
Absolutely. So, see, product roadmap is very important, right? Because that's where you are taking a stake on the ground that, hey, these are the things I want to do. So, when you start with the why and the strategy, it culminates to roadmap. And roadmap is very important because engineering is going to take that and execute. Plus, it is something which will be communicated to your go to marketing, sometimes your product, basically the delivery folks or the marketing or the solution folks or the delivery folks. So a good roadmap, right, should have basically very clearly articulated that, hey, these are the things which we are going to do, this is the value, how we are going to measure the value, it has to be measurable, and then timeline should be added by engineering because they are the ones who are going to break it. And it should start with a big story and then smaller tasks which associate to a story, and the devs can give the timeline and the costing. But as a PM, we need to ensure the prioritization is added, the expected outcome or the user value it will drive, and how do you measure success for some of these stories. So that is very important that the roadmap should cover all of these, and ideally there should be product specs which you have written for the bigger themes or the stories, and there you will have all the details or the UX mocks or the user anecdotes or testimonials, everything. So that's how a good product roadmap should look like, because it's very very important. It sort of clearly articulates the engineering execution plan.
All right. I know at the start of the session you said that don't go into this role for money, but there's a question that is product management a well-paid career choice?
It is.
It is. All right. So so is it the same for like multinational or global firms, or like obviously like if you're from India, so like do you think there's a huge parity between like global firms and Indian firms for this role?
So, see, what happens is in tech PM roles, there is more money, be it anywhere in the world. So, there might be some service companies or FMCG, because product is not tech, like they don't really are in the business of tech products, right? So, if I'm an FMCG, I might pay more to my sales or operations, right? But in tech firms, PM is a very highly paid function across the globe.
All right. The next question is, what kind of educational background should you have to become a product manager?
You can have anything, and more diverse it is the better it is, because everyone is from engineering, MBA. So it is the run of the mill, it does not work out these days. So if you are a designer, if you come up with say maths background,
Hmm.
or like if you have a diverse background, right, and you can bring something interesting and different to the table, so that is like it will help you more to move into PM roles. So anybody can move into it, but it's about what is your story, what uniqueness are you bringing right to the table, what is the value which you are bringing to the room. That's something which will help you elevate yourself and your positioning, and then you can really get into any sort of role which you aspire to.
I mean, yeah, absolutely right. I feel like anyone, even someone with a chemistry degree, if they, as you said, creates a proper sort of portfolio for themselves, they can absolutely break into this. And so, a follow-up question from Fatma over here is that what is the best way to gain skills needed for this role if you're working full-time already in other roles? So what sort of strategy they should have to sort of manage both of these things?
So plan out, right, that hey, what are the things which you want to do. For example, if you want to learn particular skill set, you want to do a course, or you are creating some say product blog, right, and you want to write one blog every week. So you take a target of 6 weeks, so work every weekend in the night, 30 minutes instead of Instagram, try to read some like product interviews or read interesting product case studies. So whenever you time, fill in with something interesting, and weekends you spend time. So we really need to make time, right? And if you are interested, we will have to find time.
I mean, you're absolutely right. Finding time for anything is important, be it changing, roles or even starting something out of that. So Asad has asked a question. specifically other than product management. He said one piece of advice that changed your life.
Hmm. I think the way I would say, right, is that you need to take pride into whatever you do. So thing is that many of us, right, we will slave, we will like keep working hard, so and live paycheck to paycheck. But if we start, like, if you are happy, right, in whatever you're doing, if you take pride that, hey, I can actually add a lot of value to the world, right? I can do something which will impact the world. I can impact a lot of people. I can change the world. So I think that taking pride into whatever we do, right, and that has its own benefits, right? It snowballs into, like, you will learn the right things, you will work hard, or work will feel like fun to you, and you are motivated. But like, it is one thing would be that taking pride in what you do, and um, then associate everything else this happens. So you have to take pride, and you will, thing is that if you might be doing something but you're not able to find pride, it means that, hey, maybe you're not the right fit. So keep exploring, keep experimenting, and when you feel that, hey, I'm good at this, man, that I can sell anyone $1 million home, you will be a great salesperson. You will love it, and work will be fun, you will make money. So you can excel at any career, but you need to be good at it, and you need to take pride into it. Then it will automatically propel you to do better.
I mean, yeah, absolutely right. Just like owning that is very important in whichever role you are. So the next question that we have is that obviously you've shared some of the skills that one should be looking towards to learn when trying to get into those roles. Do you know any platforms where people can start learning these skills? Any specific platforms are you aware of?
Yeah, there are a lot actually. So you can start with YouTube for a starter, and then I think Curious might have some courses and all. I'm not sure. In India, there are upgrades. There is Great Learning. So there's a lot of like platforms which offer a lot of interesting curated courses. And anyways, YouTube is there, so you
Yeah.
can find, right. So the strategy on YouTube, right, is you start with one topic, look at 2 3 videos, look at the next set of recommendations. So it's a learning loop. So just how you go to reels and keep looking one after the other, you will actually find like very interesting content. Say you want to learn for product design, you want to run RCA, you want to do product strategy. So you do one thing, and then there'll be a recommendation loop or a vicious circle which will actually help you learn and do interesting stuff.
And you can keep on going and going. Yeah, absolutely right. There's another question. What kind of company should beginner product managers start looking at? Specifically, I think freshers with no experience, what sort of company they should be looking at?
So, see, any company where you get good learning. So, in the beginning, try to work for startups because you get a more better horizon, and you get more hands-on work on different stuff. And after a few years, like once you do a lot of raw work, hands-on work, then you can move to more bigger firms where there is more structured training. So more execution driven are startups. Big firms, they spend a lot of time, research, energy on the why part, because the scale is humongous, right? So we cannot like take too much of risks, or it has to be structured or weighed in, right? So start with startups, and after you do a lot of stuff, then you can move to bigger firms. But it's, again, it's very personal thing, and you just focus on the learning. See, if you are learning stuff, you are doing interesting stuff, you are happy, you will do well, be it any type of company.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely right. Learning anywhere is super important. There's another question about your experience at Microsoft. So, like, tell us about your experience. How did you find it? How did you land that role? Everything about your experience over there.
Okay, sure. So I think I'll try to keep it crisp because it's a longer question. So I think Microsoft has been a beautiful journey for me. In my last couple of roles, right, I used to work in startups, so it was again very execution driven. And what Microsoft has taught me, right, is to really think big, right, think out of the box, and have more of that structured PM thinking, right, and focus much more on the why part. Because we as a big company, right, I can do millions of things here, but what are those 2 to 3 things which really will help me create the most impact, add most business or user value. So going in very deeper into problems, and then coming up with like great product plans, great research, writing very beautiful specs, aligning everyone together, creating the right set of metrics, building that strong experimentation framework, looking at feedback from all the channels, funneling it back into product. Like in earlier companies, right, or smaller companies, my CEO will say something, 10 customers will say something, and I'm like all over the place, do this, do this, do this. But now, like, how can I use data, how can I use customer anecdotes and build a story and then really pitch it to multiple levels above me, right, and still go and ship it. So I think it's this baking of all the product principles and the PMing skills, right, which, and I am still learning, right. There are tens and hundreds of things which I don't know. So after coming to Microsoft, I realized that I know very less and I don't know so much more. So that is the beauty of coming to Microsoft and being in a journey to like self reflect, learn and grow as an individual.
That's super insightful and seems super interesting and fun as well, being in such an environment where you can, learn and grow with such a big organization. There's another question from a participant from Google Meet. The apprentice is asking, is there any product manager community that they can join to exchange learning or ideas or something along that line?
Yes, yes. So actually, there are a lot. So I am added to, I don't know, five or six on WhatsApp. There are bunch on LinkedIn, so you can search for Indian Product Group. There is TED School. So just go to LinkedIn, right, and start searching like product managers community groups. So you'll find a lot of groups. You go to Facebook. So you go to Telegram. So just start searching, and once you find one or two, you will find others, right? And it's a vicious circle. So there are a lot on Discord. There are a bunch on Slack, and many of these are publicly available. So just go start searching, and you will find the relevant ones in your community or wherever you are based out of.
All right. There's another question about your favorite product management tools and like the ones you use frequently.
I think PowerPoint would be the one hands on because we have to communicate so much, give presentations, tell stories. So I think storytelling and aligning folks, right, is very, very important as a PM role or responsibility. So hands down, it's gonna be PowerPoint, and then like data analysis tools on SQL or say MongoDB, whatever we use, and then I think it will be Excel. So I think these are the most important tools, and then like product mocks and all, you can use Balsamic or something. Nowadays, we even do product mocks in PowerPoint as well. So I think a PowerPoint is hands down the most important tool.
So, do you use PowerPoint in a way to sort of showcase the product or the vision that you have and sort of the roadmap along with it? All right.
Yes.
Sounds super interesting. There's another question. So, what challenges should one be ready for when they're looking to get into a product management role?
Right. I think the challenge is that it can be very overwhelming, right? It's that nobody is reporting to you, right? So you don't have direct authority or ownership, but you own the success or outcome of the product. So you are like a single person who is balancing the engineering, product, marketing, sales, operations. No one is reporting to you, but if the product fails, you are the one who is going to be fired. So there is like you need to have that skill, right? That hey, as I mentioned, the strategizing of, and then operationalizing the roadmap and getting everyone together, doing scrums, ship rooms, sending updates, aligning people, unblocking engineering, enabling marketing, sales, technical documentation, experimentation. So you have to balance so many hats together that, and everyone will say, "Oh, this is not coming," or "I want this, I want this." So people are giving you feedback, your manager, your leads, your peers, why are you not doing this, not doing this. So it's constantly juggling every ball together and still ensuring the ship sails. So it can be very overwhelming, and people are not reporting to you, still you are responsible for the outcome. So it's a very like you can say the expectations are high, it's a little bit complicated in that sense. So you need to have that personality, right, that you can drive everyone together, align everyone together and ship something interesting, valuable and relevant. So I think that's one of the challenge, or like you need to have those skills to succeed in this line.
So do you think over your journey as a product manager, have you faced this level, or have you faced some sort of like, something along this line, and how did you overcome it?
So I think in we have a very good support system, right? So we create presentations, we create product specs, we do peer reviews, we ask for feedback, we continuously talk to customers, users, understand what is happening. So it's this constant process of revision, refinement, enhancement, and having that support group, right, of your peers, managers, and close users, which gives you that confidence. So you keep trying, and then you will come up with a version which you will be able to pitch and you will be able to succeed. So of course there are challenges at different stages, but building this support network, right, which will help you refine and take it to the level which meets the bar, and that is something which like happens over time. So as you keep working, you keep learning this.
Interesting. So over this session, you've described how this role requires so many, like even getting into it requires so much effort, and being in this role is obviously it takes a lot, right? So do you think there's obviously certain personalities may not fit into this role? So do you think there's certain personality traits that are required to sort of even get into this role, or even start thinking about getting into this role?
Absolutely. So I think you have to be very open to feedback. That is the most important thing, that because you will get so much of feedback, you might get even very strict feedback. You might feel like, hey man, I'm not gonna work, right? So you have to be very open to feedback, very receptive. Don't take it personally. That is one. Second is you need to have very good communication skills. You have to talk to people like at all levels, all functions, all orgs, users of different personas, natures, types. So you should be able to communicate and connect with different people. So I think these two things are absolute essential. If you don't have these two, you this line may not be apt for you.
Interesting. So, along with that, you mentioned, how thinking outside of the box is very important. A lot of products, a lot of, industries are saturated. So sort of how do you differentiate yourself, or what sort of mindset do you bring, or how do you sort of let go of the fact that someone may be working on the same product, or sort of same, have the same roadmap? How do you sort of work along that?
That's a good point. So I think it's continuously, right, talking to users, looking at
Hmm.
competition, looking at the different sources of inspiration, and that helps you like stay ahead of the curve. Like your users will say, okay, if you could have done it like this, or you give me this feature, can you auto complete this for me? Can you give me these recommendations? Or in some maybe TED talk, you will hear that, hey, how is the future evolving? You might talk to some leaders. So I think the key thing would be, right, one is being aware of your ecosystem. Second thing is be multi-perspective. Like don't just, if you are say working in a fintech, right, look at marketing, look at branding, look at FMCG, look outside your basically wall, and then you will see, oh wow, maybe you might pick something from Tesla, like something which Elon Musk is doing in some building, say Gotham City or underground tunnels. You might get some idea for your security product. So one is being aware of the industry, users, competition. Second is have different perspectives, mindset, and look at like different things in life. And third thing is like specifically think and talk to different people, have brainstorming sessions, do sort of some hackathons, like, so it then that mindset will evolve, that hey, what is the future, how can I be different, how can I bring some extra value, real value. So then it will automatically start evolving over time.
I mean, yeah, fair enough. So yeah, I think I'll just stop taking questions now because we're coming at the end of the session. Before I end it, there's actually a special request for you. So Anam said, thanks for the session, Ankit. Can you do another webinar on how to prep for interviews? So hopefully we can take out the time and work around this because your insight into interviews were also pretty amazing, and hopefully it'll also help our apprentices were looking into making that switch or getting into that PM role. So yeah, so Ankit, I would like to thank you for joining us for the session and taking out the time in doing it. I would also like to thank everyone who joined us from Facebook, LinkedIn, any other platform, Google Meet, for taking out the time and joining us. We have much more interesting webinars coming up, so stay tuned. Keep on checking our platforms. If you're a mentor, an apprentice, or a business, don't forget to visit www.qureos.com for new exciting opportunities. And yeah, Ankit, again, thank you so much for taking out the time. It was a daily amazing. It was an amazing session, and it was super interesting to see how passionate you are about product management. And it shows that you really love doing this and love sharing information as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you, folks. Have a good day, everyone.
Bye bye,
All the
Ankit.
Take care, folks. Bye bye.